afternoon, everyone. I hope you all had a hearty lunch and are now energized for the afternoon lineup. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to Samavesh 2024, SPJMR's flagship business academia conclave. My name is Sanchari Dasgupta, and I'm honored to be your host for the Marketing Conclave. As a student of SPJMR, I can vouch that this is not just an educational institute. It's a place where ideas are forged into reality, where tomorrow's leaders are shaped today. Our postgraduate program in management is a reflection of this ethos. Designed for seasoned professionals, this 18-month program is a blend of academic rigor and real-world immersions. The PGPM class of 2024 is a powerhouse of diverse expertise. We have former lawyers, journalists, chartered accountants, Navy merchants, and tech specialists all put together in the same classroom. The 165-member batch bring unique perspectives and a relentless drive to innovate. Samavesh is more than just a gathering. It's a dynamic forum that brings together notable business leaders, eminent thought leaders, and academia to discuss current trends and collaborate for the future. One such trend that's hard to ignore is the rise of AI in marketing. Did you know that 84% of marketers now consider AI essential to their marketing strategy? And this number is only set to grow in the future. That's why our theme for this marketing conclave, transforming the marketing landscape with AI and GPT, is not just timely, it's revolutionary. In an era where change is the only constant, AI and GPT are the forces propelling us into the future. Today, we will explore how these technologies are not just transforming marketing, but are in fact rewriting the rules of customer engagement. To guide us through this exploration, we are privileged to have with us industry experts who are at the forefront of this transformation. Please join me to welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Ankit Rawal, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Affle. He's an accomplished alumnus of SPJMR and brings nearly 2 decades of experience in building brands both India and internationally. He has previously worked with tech giants like Microsoft and Oracle, as well as innovative startups such as InMobi and currently Affle. Thank you for gracing us with your presence, sir. I'd now like to invite you to address the students.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's such a nostalgic feeling. I'm coming to the campus almost 15 years later. Such a surreal feeling. I was like one of you sitting at the back somewhere there. And today here I am standing in front of you. So it's a very, very nostalgic feeling. This is where it all began. So really looking forward to connect with one and all and see some of these topics which Rohan wants me to speak. Cool. So when I did not have collar mic, sorry. So when Vasu reached out to me and said, "Sir, we want you to speak about AI and GPT and talk about how it's going to change the marketing landscape," I said, "Vasu, that's a very tough topic." I said, "Why, sir? There are so many experts, Gyan gurus on LinkedIn talking about AI and going to change everything. Why do you say that it's such a tough topic?" I said, "Let me explain, Vasu." So, to understand why such a disruptive technology can be a game changer, let's go back in time. Let's go back almost 100 years ago when another such technology came into being. The humble car. Back in the 1900s, people used to traverse through horses and carriages. And then the car got invented. When the car came, it was very obvious that before cars, since people were taking carriages and horses, we will have gas stations because horses needed grass and water. So it was very obvious that we'll have gas stations. What was not very clear during that time that we'll also have the megapolis Los Angeles. Prior to that, most of the American cities like New York, Chicago were very densely populated because people could only walk or take a bicycle. But when the ownership of the car started increasing, more and more people started owning cars, traversing longer distances, and that's why they were able to set up Los Angeles with sprawling streets where people can commute between places. Another such second order impact which came because of cars was Walmart. As many of you may know, Walmart is around the lengths and breadths of America, and it is today mostly in the suburbs of these large cities, only accessible through cars. Or for that matter, as the car ownership increased worldwide, these gas guzzling machines started looking for oil, which in some sense led to the whole Middle East oil embargo and the conflict. So the point I'm trying to say is whenever a new disruptive technology like AI and GPT comes into picture, it's very easy to predict the first order impact, but very difficult to say what would be the second and the third order impact of these kinds of technologies. So today here I am, and I'll try to talk a little bit about my perspective, my conjecture of how these disruptive technologies like AI and GPT will impact marketing. What is fairly obvious at that things like content generation and orchestration will really get democratized due to these technologies. Till now, the creative privilege was with a few large brands or elitist companies. But this technology will really democratize access to content creation and orchestration. And we'll see some examples of that in the study. Similarly, I was talking to Professor Ashita, and we're talking about chatbots and virtual assistants. So while some of these technologies have been there for some time, but what AI and GPT particularly have done has really made it much more human-like. Large language models, or LLMs as they are called, have really made engagement with these bots much more fluid and like you're speaking to a human. Lastly, as we traverse this whole AI and GPT era, we will see two interesting things happening. One is experience automation as well as hyper personalization. I think personalization as a theme has always existed as long as marketing has existed. But today, with some of these Gen AI tools we'll discuss, you are really going down the path of creating those hyper personalized experiences. It will be like a walk in a branded theme park where every brand will try to create an experience personalized, customized for you as the consumer. The other thing which may happen is the convergence of what I call sales and marketing. Till now, if you think of it, marketing is like a broadcast where you have one brand talking to as many people as possible. But now with AI and Gen AI technologies, you can spin off a lot of selling agents who will, on behalf of a marketer, when he or she runs a brand campaign, spawn many of these agents which will try to sell you one-on-one in a very personalized way. So again, as I said, it's very easy to predict gas stations, very difficult to predict Los Angeles and Walmart. These are my hypotheses, my examples. How the world will turn out is anybody's guess. And that's why also it's a tough topic. Cool. Before we get started and I talk about GPT, which we are all here, let me give you another example of a GPT, what we call the general purpose technology. As has been explained in world history, and we have seen it throughout, technologies like fire, electricity, internet, wheel have all been revolutionary. They have changed the arc of the human history. What is well established now is that AI will be that GPT which will transform our human society, impact every aspect of our life, the way we eat, engage, speak, or even have a conference like this. But guess what? This is not something which has sprung up in the last 2 years or 5 years. This is almost a 70-year-old concept. There was a young mathematician way back in 1955 who, in a conference at Dartmouth, had coined the term artificial intelligence because he wanted to explain his concept of applied statistics. And since then, the word artificial intelligence had stuck, and it had its own waves of highs and lows. So in the 70s and the 80s, we had something called thinking machines, which were decision-based systems applied in a very narrow context, whether it is say financial analysis or medical diagnosis. Then in the late 90s came the era of what we call machine learning, which is nothing but learning algorithms which learn from a lot of large data sets and predict new things. And then in the late 2010s is when another subset of AI came into being called deep learning, whose use cases today we see like natural language processing, image recognition, and the driverless cars. So the point I'm trying to say is that while we talk about GPT now, it's something which has been making for the last 70 years. Does anybody recognize this board game? Go, correct, right? So 2017 was a seminal year in the field of AI, and two very important things happened. One was this strategic board game called Go. For the interest of others, I'll just share more. So it's a strategy board game which has been around for the last 3,000 years. It originated in China, and while it's a very simple game with two people playing it, it offers a vast array of strategic possibilities which is very difficult to model in an algorithm. And 2017 was the era when AlphaGo, one of the division at Google, played with Lee Sedol, who was the Go Grandmaster, and defeated them 4-1. And in some way, this was the test of how far artificial intelligence has come, where it can outsmart humans. The other interesting thing which happened in 2017 was born of a new star, the GPT we all talk about, generative pre-trained transformer. So there was a seminal paper written in 2017 by some researchers at Google and one researcher outside. Attention is all you need. And they created a new architecture of neural networks, which has been around for some time, which is like the backbone of many of the Gen AI tools we'll talk about today, including ChatGPT. So I think what is really interesting about Gen AI, if you think, is that till now, humans would engage with machines, but only through machine language. I remember when I was growing up, we used to learn COBOL, we used to learn BASIC and C, Java, and what have you. But I think with now Gen AI, it's the other way around, where computers are learning our natural language processing. We can talk to them in English, Hindi, or whatever language, and they can do things for us. So I think that way GPT is a very, very important aspect where machines are learning our language rather than the other way around for the last 70 years. I think now that I've geeked out enough, let me quickly talk to how some of the Gen AI tools are going to impact marketing. I think what I spoke about is that, which is obvious and we are seeing as we speak, is things around efficiency and effectiveness in marketing. As I was saying, till now, most of the cutting edge technologies are only with the big brands as well as elitist companies. They had the wherewithal to create marketing, ad copies, multiple ad formats across text, video, images, and they only could run a lot of these creative ad copies on platforms like Meta, Google, and etc. But what ChatGPT and similar versions are doing is they're really democratizing content where a picture is just 1,000 words. Sorry, a picture is no longer 1,000 words, it's just a prompt where you can give a prompt and that prompts can work. Let me give an example of this, how Gen AI is leveling the field of marketing and able to give access to cutting edge design and resources. For example, if you see here, this is an example from Meta Advantage Creative Plus tool, where today if you are a small coffee bean maker, you could only have that much design resources, and it was a pain to upload many of this content on platforms like Meta and Google, and only the big companies, the Mondelez of the world, could really do it. But now today you can create multiple ad copies on these platforms. You can change the background, have a say a idyllic green background, or you can have a business settings, and it is just a prompt away. So some of these tools are able to unlock creativity, launch different campaigns, refine them, which is much easier to do today than it was in the past. Okay, so let's see this, how this is happening.
Today, brands are constantly challenged to create brand-compliant, product-accurate content at scale. But not anymore. Introducing Production Studio, where advanced AI fuels creativity and craft. Create product-perfect 3D models. Produce stunning, brand-authentic AI visuals. Deliver customized content at scale. Generate faultless multilingual copy, tailored to every touchpoint. And adapt in real time with intelligent data-driven insights. Welcome to Production Studio. Brought to you by WPP Open.
Cool. So it is really democratizing the access of content creation. One of the other things which GenAI tools will do is orchestrating ad spends across multitude of media. Today we live in a dizzying array of platforms. We are just chatting with some of the co-panelists, right? Today you have not just YouTube, you have also search. You also have Instagram and Snap and TikTok globally. You have display advertising, you have mobile advertising and influencer marketing. So for a small marketer, for a small team, it is very difficult to orchestrate your advertising ad dollars across so many platforms. And it is a big pain for especially small teams to really get return on ad spends. What some of these tools like the Performance PMax from Google or Meta's Advantage Plus, or even my own company Affle, which has built an interesting tool called Converge AI, is able to orchestrate these ad spends across multiple platforms. So they are able to automate vast amount of data and show the right ad to the right user so that it resonates with that audiences and create return on ad spend. So something which was big teams doing it is now at the hands of a small business who can orchestrate many of these ad campaigns. And these are some of the things which are happening as we speak. So they're able to realign budgets, they're able to relocate, tweak creative performance and create impact of their marketing ad spends. Let me look and make this much more understandable through a case study of Coca-Cola. I'm sure many of you here, like me, think Coca-Cola as the gold standard of marketing and advertising, and they have this interesting knack to engage with consumers across generations. In fact, even for Gen AI revolution, they are at the forefront of technology. In fact, they've created a role called head of Gen AI, and they have incidentally an Indian who's anchoring that role for them at Coca-Cola. So Coca-Cola last year launched an interesting campaign called the Masterpiece, where they are trying to showcase some of these Gen AI tools and how will they impact in creating a campaign. So let's look at that campaign called the Masterpiece. Pretty cool, right? And if there are any artists and creators in this room, they would recognize that the ad campaign featured many renowned paintings, right? So whether it was the Andy Warhol's Coca-Cola of 1962, or there was the Shipwreck from J.M. Turner, or the Scream, which actually got recolored through lithograph, as well as towards the end, that was that painting of girl with the pearl earrings, right? So a lot of these world-renowned paintings were brought to life all using some of these Gen AI tools which are out there in the market. Cool. One of the other way to think about this is how it was going to impact what we know as chatbots and virtual assistants. So chatbots and virtual assistants have been there for some time, But now, thanks to these LLMs, they have ingested new life in many of them to make them much more human, much lesser robotic, and you can have a fluid, free flow conversation with them. So, if you recognize some of the names here, there is this Ira from, she's a chatbot at Nykaa, and she can help you with a lot of personalized shopping and helping you track your orders, etc. There is Eva, which is from FGFC, and it helps you answer a lot of your banking queries as well as say things around payments, so on and so forth. And similarly, you have a My Chatbot from MyGeo, which can help you recharge, etc. Right? So I think while these chatbots had been there for some time, but they were mostly rule-based, it was very robotic to speak to them. It was very much scripted. What these LLMs have done is have made them much more human, where you can engage with them in a free-flow conversation in your preferred language. Say, for example, you don't speak English, you speak Hindi or you speak Kannada or whatever language. These chatbots now understand most languages out there. Does anyone recognize her? No, she's not actually a real person. She's not a Bollywood celebrity or a human influencer. She's actually Naina, India's first virtual influencer, who has more than 3 lakh followers on Instagram. She talks about, I think, beauty and fashion and lifestyle. And she's not a real person, as some of you had guessed correctly, right? And by the way, she's not alone. There are many more such virtual influencers out there. There is another one called Kyra, again popular with 2 lakh followers. And globally also, there are many such influencers. There's Magalu, which is very popular in LATAM, to Nuri, who's a vegan virtual influencer based in Germany. So what is happening is these Gen AI tools are making a new frontier on influencer marketing, where instead of real persons, you will have these virtual influencers and people will follow. In fact, there's a study which says that almost 58% of people in the US, they follow one virtual influencer on their social media platforms. And brands also love some of these virtual influencers, largely for a reason where it is very easy for these virtual influencers to adapt to that particular brand voice and persona, to at the other end where you don't have to spend exotic amounts to go to such travel locations to shoot, etc., because it's much cheaper to do some of these things. Plus, also, you don't have to have the backlash when some of these human influencers do some gaffes or some controversy and the brand has to face the backlash. Some of those things don't happen. So, interestingly, a lot of brands, even here in India, have started engaging with these virtual influencers. Titan as well as Boat have done some marketing campaigns with them. Let me show you an interesting case study of now how some of the QSR brands in US are using voice AI and voice virtual chatbots to drive marketing communication and effectiveness and customer support.
Every time you go through this Hardee's drive-thru, you'll hear,
"Would you like to try a peach pie for $1.59?
"Nope,
Would you like to try a peach pie for $1.59?
no,
Peach pie for $1.59?
no thank you,
Peach pie?
no peach pie,
I have one peach pie."
no peach pie." That's because that's an AI chatbot that now takes all the drive-thru orders at this Hardee's location on Kent Island in Maryland. Well, unless the bot needs human help.
One moment, let me get a team member to help you.
And this tech may be coming to a restaurant near you. Made by a company named Presto, it's available at 350 locations in the country, including Carl's Jr., Del Tacos, and Checkers. It even uses some of OpenAI's GPT tech. But how does the tech work? And is it really taking over real jobs? I designed 3 challenges and drove through this drive-thru about 30 times.
Thank you for choosing Hardee's.
To find out how good this bot is at feeding hungry humans. Challenge 1, speech recognition. The first thing Presto does is use automatic speech recognition to convert an order to text, so the AI system can understand it. I'd like the big hearty combo with extra ketchup and a Diet Coke.
Sure. Would you like to make that a medium or a large?
But as we all know from speech to text on our phones, sometimes it isn't perfect,
Thank you for
especially with background noise, which there's typically a lot of at a drive-thru. Initiate dog sounds. Can I get the 10-piece chicken nuggets?
What dipping sauce would you like?
What dipping sauce sauces do you have?
Ranch, honey mustard, barbecue sauce, honey cube, and hot or creamy buffalo sauce.
I'll do the honey mustard. Do you like dogs?
Sure.
Okay, but what about... Can I get a kid's meal? Let's do the two-piece chicken tenders.
What dipping sauce would you like?
And for the extreme challenge.
What can we get started for you today?
Can I get a big hearty with a Diet Coke?
Can you please speak louder so that I may hear you?
So one big hearty with a Diet Coke, please.
1 moment, let me get a team member to help you.
Okay, I'm not even sure a human would hear me over that. Challenge 1, pass. Challenge 2, natural language processing. Once the system has that text prompt, it goes to the AI brain, what's called Presto Natural Language Understanding. The AI interprets the prompt and determines a follow-up response.
Would you like to make that a medium or a large?
Large.
Would you like to try a peach pie for $1.59? What drink would you like?
Diet Coke and no to the peach pie. At this location, Presto has now incorporated OpenAI's GPT into the system to make the readback portion of the order sound more human-like.
I have one number for the big hearty combo with extra ketchup, large fries, and large Diet Coke. Correct?
Once the order is received, it's transferred to the restaurant's kitchen display, so a human can make and package up the food. For simple, straightforward orders, it works well. Got the order right. It's fairly efficient. And yes, there's the upsell.
Would you like to try a peach pie?
I do not want the peach pie.
Got it.
It also did quite well when I changed my order. I'd like the big hearty combo. Actually,
Sure. Would you like medium or large?
Sorry. Actually, I'd like the superstar with cheese.
Sure thing.
Unlike ChatGPT, which is trained on a large language model, this system is trained on a limited set of data, including the restaurant's menu. Can I get 2 spicy tuna rolls?
I'm sorry, but that item is currently unavailable.
You have a pepperoni pizza?
No.
And it does fail at some pretty simple tasks. Do you know how many calories there are in the Western bacon cheeseburger?
1 moment, let me get a team member to help you.
I am allergic to gluten. Is there gluten in that?
No.
There's definitely gluten in that bread. Can I speak to a human?
1 moment, please. Let me get someone to help you.
Hi, I'm sorry about that. We do have a lettuce wrap.
Presto said this was an error and that any allergy questions should trigger the bot to get a human. Challenge 2. I'm giving it a pass because it did get most orders right. But yes, it needs to work on the allergy issue. Challenge 3. Humanness. One of the things I like about drive-thrus, or I say I like about drive-thrus, is talking to a human. What's your favorite Taylor Swift song? What's your favorite thing on the menu? Say, order when ready, please, if you are free tonight.
Order when ready, please.
Yeah. But 3.3 million Americans are fast food or counter workers, making this a very human-centric job. Do we really want AI taking this job? Yet here at the Hardys on this 15-mile island in Maryland, AI hasn't taken jobs. At least not yet.
We put Presto in to support our team. They're currently understaffed, as in most restaurants currently in the area. Now that we have Presto, our frontline personnel are more free to do other things like drop fries, assemble orders, tend to dining room guests, make our hand-dipped ice cream shakes, make sure that quality assurance at every level is to standard. We have no intention of cutting labor.
And I was happy to hear that, given how very nice the humans at the Hardys were, and how unhuman-like the bot was. Okay, thank you so much. So what did we learn here today? Well, that this AI is very good at the basics of drive-through order
What can we
taking.
get started for
But like most applications of AI right now, this is a way to help humans rather than fully replace them. A human still has to babysit this bot.
So typically this is where we would lock in and take over.
But all I did was order the big hearty.
Yeah. This is what we deal with sometimes. I apologize.
But of course, this tech is only going to get better, and more companies will give in to making AI part of their workforce. Just like I gave in to the peach pie on a 100-degree day. Some cream filling.
Cool, right? So this is a quick glimpse of how voice AI is going to really impact customer service and how some of the brands, both here in India, are going to use some of these new age technologies. As we further go down the arc, right, I think what Gen AI tools will do is really create immersive experience. So as I was saying, marketing, advertising will become like a walk in a branded theme park, where every brand will try to create an immersive experience for you, personalized particularly for you. And think of this way, that there will be a marketing campaign which will till now was mostly around broadcast, right? So you broadcast from one to many. What now will happen, and again, I think we are still few years away from it, that a marketing campaign will actually spend a lot of sales agents, and these will start talking to you as an individual and try to sell you things one-on-one rather than one to many, as how marketing is structured today. I think one of the things which has really happened, and being a marketer myself and talking to my teams and my friends, is that today marketers really struggle to connect with the customers at scale. It is very difficult to get the customer voice because it's like a whisper in a big crowded room and it gets lost in the noise. I think what some of these Gen AI tools do is really give you the opportunity to understand the customer context much better, the sentiment, the tone, etc., and do it across different forms of communication, right? Whether it is unstructured data, voice, text, or even video, you can really understand the customer sentiment and walk towards something called hyper personalization. I know when I was studying like you 15 years ago, we would talk about personalization, and till now we are talking about personalization. But I think while we have definitely moved the arc, a lot needs to be done. But with some of these Gen AI tools, you really can create that level of hyper personalization. And in fact, with that, let me show you another interesting case study, which is from one of the companies who are my co-panelists belongs to, which is Mondelez and Cadbury. In fact, they did this interesting campaign last year, which won a Grand Prix at the Cannes. And Cannes is, for example, what Oscars is to say movies. The Cannes is for advertising, and this is the campaign Shah Rukh Khan, My Ad, really won a Grand Prix here. So let's quickly look at this.
Big brands have big money to hire famous people, but not the small guys. And they're the ones who are still hurting. Presenting Shah Rukh Khan, My Ad.
He almost certainly has more devoted fans than any other movie star in the world.
Biggest movie star in the world.
Forbes have called him one of the biggest movie stars in the world. We help small businesses by making Shah Rukh Khan, the world's biggest movie star, their brand ambassador.
इस दिवाली आप भी ना अपने पास वाले फैशन ओवर एम्पोरियम से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना। सिद्धि विनायक इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स से लेटेस्ट स्मार्टफोन खरीदकर धमाकेदार सेल्फी पोस्ट करना।
क्या कर रहे हो? मीठा लाए कि नहीं? We used machine learning to recreate Shah Rukh Khan's face and voice to take the local store names in the ads.
आप भी ना अपने पास वाले चॉइस ऑफ फैशन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग करना। रॉयल फैशन से ही, एनके क्लॉथ से ही, पास वाली लक्ष्मी कलेक्शन से ही कपड़ों की शॉपिंग।
Different versions of the same ad with local store names were targeted as per the PIN code of the viewer, showing them only the nearby stores. But it is impossible to cover all the stores. So we gave the power to the people to create their own version of Shah Rukh Khan, My Ad. Any small business owner could promote their stores through their own social media networks like WhatsApp forwards and other social media pages.
It is Shah Rukh Khan selling your store, man. If you're a small-time retailer or a merchant, what an amazing thing to have.
Cadbury ad is an ad campaign that has gone viral.
A new ad which stars Bollywood superstar Shah Rukh Khan is winning hearts all over social media.
And what we're learning is that over 1 lakh local stores have already created their own ad with Shah Rukh as a brand ambassador.
दुकानों के नाम पूरी सेलिब्रेशंस के दिवाली ऐड में
सपने में भी नहीं सोचा था कि शाहरुख खान मेरी दुकान का ऐड करेगा।
Shah Rukh Khan, My Ad.
Sorry, Rajat, if I stole your thunder, but this is such an important aspect of Gen AI. Cool. I think I got a message from Vasu to fasten up. So I'll quickly talk about some of the things, right? So some of these technologies, right, while it look very futuristic and customer delight, can also be creepy to some of us, right? So as we talk about some of these things, I really wanted to call out some of these things which are very important, and as marketers, as business professionals, as society at large, we should really discuss some of them, right? So I think the first and important one is the copyright thing. one of the two things which really come out here in copyright is that these LLMs are trained on a lot of data. Now, what applies to the rights of the people whose data on it these LLMs learn upon? So, for example, believe it or not, OpenAI in some sense have downloaded the whole internet and used that to really learn. Now, there are questions that, say, a New York Times or a Chicago Tribune, in fact, have filed a lawsuit on OpenAI, which is the parent company of ChatGPT, that how could you use our data to create those LLMs? Versus on the other end, you have Wall Street as well as Times of India, which has partnered with OpenAI to use their content for making these LLMs much more better. So I think copyright issue and who owns the content is one thing we have to be conscious of. The other thing is also explainability and audit. So today, a lot of decision making, say for example, you're applying for a loan and you get rejected. You have every right as a human to understand why was your application rejected. Is there a pair of eyes who can relook at that? Can you QA, etc. So some of those things today, these are like a black box and something we really need to have an audit for some of these tools. I think enough is said about data and privacy, so I'll not talk about it. But everybody, right, whether it is the government in India or governments globally, are really struggling how to regulate this kind of a powerful technology. How do you really do light touch or hard touch? Nobody really knows the right answer. I think this is important, which doesn't get talked a lot about, is about bias and fairness. So in some sense, these tools are perpetuating inadvertently and amplifying the bias which exists in society. So there was a success, like a story which came out, I think, last year, where a lot of big tech companies started using some of these tools for candidate shortlisting. And what happened is, over a period of time, these AI systems are only shortlisting a certain persona of candidates, which were of a certain age, certain pedigree, and it was not really doing any inclusive shortlisting. So some of these biases get perpetuated through these AI systems, and we as a society need to talk about them. Then obviously there is misinformation and deep fake. I think enough has been spoken about the hallucinations of this, so I'll not talk about it. But deep fake again is a very dangerous technology which is getting enabled through these Gen AI tools. Today it is very easy to impersonate somebody's voice and video using some of these, and it can be an irritant at one end to really create big social fissures. And we saw that during, for example, the Hamas attack in Israel. A lot of deep fake videos had come up. Really, when the tempers are high, some of these tools can be really, really destructive. And I think the last but very important one is, I think which the video also talk about it, as of today, some of these technologies are not replacing or automating jobs. And if you go back in time, whenever such disruptive technologies have come, they don't automate all jobs, but they displace them. So you have some new jobs which come out in the being, but this is something which we really, really conscious of. And believe it or not, some of this will really impact marketing students like you. Today, some of the aspects like content marketing or things like campaign optimization, which were the roles which a lot of early marketers would take in their career, gets eliminated through some of these Gen AI tools. So if I have to really summarize quickly, right, how has marketing evolved in the last, say, 35 plus years? If you go back in time, say in the early 80s till late 90s, marketing was all about what I call the madmen. These were those creative, eccentric people, likes of, say, a Piyush Pandey or Prasoon Joshi, who would come up with very interesting consumer insights, and the whole marketing was nothing but 30-second TV spots. And this was the era of madman, if I can say. Then towards the end, as we entered the 2000s and more, and data analytics, social media platforms really started gaining traction, the transition happened from madmen to what we call the mathmen, where a lot of people with analytical skills started becoming front and center, and media took the center stage for marketing. As we progress, right, and see some of these breakthrough technologies, many of you may be wondering, is this the era of no man? Because everything will be done by AI and technology. So what will humans do? And what will marketers do? Well, what I believe is that AI is not going to replace marketers, but people who are using AI will. Let me repeat that AI will not replace marketers, but people who are using AI will really, really replace marketing. And that's why it is very important that for each one of you who are in the marketing domain or are interested, you really need to have these three kind of things to do to really be future ready. One of them is AI curious, right? So as I said, this is like a general purpose technology is going to impact every aspect of business or consumer. So you really need to be AI curious, trying to understand what is happening in your domain, in your vertical. And really the genie is now outside the bottle, right? So you can't put it back. So the only thing you can do is you can join them, learn some of those tools, understand how it can be applied in your domain, in your workflows, both in a personal as well as professional way. And lastly, be very authentic, right? Because try to become like humans, right? And we have seen that after the COVID, the kind of revenge travel, people still crave that human connection. They still want to connect with people. And that's why we are having a conference like this in person rather than online, because we are still craving for those insights, still trying to connect with individuals, right? So try to develop skills like empathy, compassion, which some of these Gen AI bots are trying to really do. And hopefully that will make you future ready. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your insights on the future of marketing. Your interesting analogy of a humble car with AI and GPT as disruptive innovation was truly delightful. We surely learned a lot. We shall now commence the panel discussion, for which I would first like to take a moment to introduce our esteemed panelists. First, we have Mr. Rohit Gulati, a seasoned healthcare business leader with extensive experience in sales, marketing, and commercial leadership. He is also a TEDx speaker and currently serves as the CMO for Johnson & Johnson Surgical Vision in India. We are delighted to have you, sir. Next up, we have Bhavisha Jogi. Next up, we have Bhavisha Jogi, Associate Director at Ernst & Young, an alumna of IIM Bangalore. Ms. Jogi is a dynamic marketing leader, blending strategic vision with hands-on experience. Beyond her corporate achievements, she is an adventurer at heart with a mission to conquer the 7 summits, having already triumphed over Mount Kilimanjaro, Elbrus, and Kosciuszko. Welcome, Ms. Jogi. Joining us next is Mr. Rajat Handa, an SPGMR alumnus, currently making waves in the FMCG sector as the brand manager of Cadbury Dairy Milk, and with a mission to ensure kuch acha ho jaye, kuch meetha ho jaye, Mr. Handa continues to drive brand growth and market penetration. A warm welcome to you, Mr. Handa. And last but not the least, we have Ms. Ayushi Mona Singh, Director of Marketing at India's leading logistics company, Delhivery. Ms. Singh has experience across various marketing domains in multiple industries. She was also featured in Business World's 30 Under 30 list of entrepreneurs for her contributions to healthcare during COVID-19. A writer at heart, Ms. Singh is also the jury member at Royal Commonwealth Society, the world's oldest essay writing competition. A hearty welcome, Ms. Singh. I'd once again like to invite Mr. Ankit Rawal to please join the panel. Now, it's my great pleasure to introduce our moderator for this session, Dr. Ashita Aggarwal, a distinguished academician, researcher, and author. Her expertise spans over 20 years across industry and academics, with a key focus on branding and marketing. Her knowledge in consumer insights and brand building are lauded globally, and her cases are vividly published by B schools across the globe. Welcome, Dr. Aggarwal. As we prepare to dive into this cutting-edge discussion, I would like to thank each and every one of you for being here today. So without any further ado, let's unlock the future of marketing.
Thank you. Good afternoon, panelists, and thank you so much for making time to be here and speak with all of us on this very interesting topic, which has been actually taking a lot of our time in every room or the lounge today and discussing that how AI and GPT is going to change the marketing landscape. So as I introduce the topic, and it's about how AI and GPT are transforming the marketing landscape, it's important to understand that how do we have a common definition for AI? And probably I would like to propose a definition which says that it's something which is intelligent, superhuman-like, organic learner, and interactive. And that's how it is distinguished from any other technology we're talking about. And that encompasses what AI and GPT are all about. And with that common understanding, I think we'll be able to resolve the further issues we are talking about today. So AI use among the public increased over 10 times in 2023. AI and GPT are revolutionizing the marketing landscape by driving unparalleled innovation, enhancing customer service, empowering businesses with data-driven insights that can unlock efficiency, give us higher productivity, cost saving, and a lot of financial growth, as validated by the marketing leaders in the Deloitte study, wherein 82% of them told us that AI and GPT have impacted their financial growth today. A recent study by the conference board also suggested that 87% of marketeers have already used AI, and almost about 63% of CMOs have invested in AI or plan to do so in the next coming year. So we are looking at a future wherein AI and GPT are going to become an important driver and a tool to revolutionize the business. All my esteemed panelists represent various industries, and we would love to know from you that how it is changing your own industry and what future do you see with AI. So let me start with Rohit. And Rohit, coming from J&J Vision, I would love to know that how is AI transforming the healthcare sector, the pharma, the medical devices space? Is it saving time or it is creating value?
That's a great question. And this is something which we get asked as CMOs most often inside the boardroom. Let me start off answering your question from the devices perspective. So medical devices, right? If you see, we sell a lot of machines. So in my business, we look after the eyes, right? So age-old cataract, which is there inside the eyes. You have various machines which take out the cataract inside the eyes and fix a lens, right? So that you can see clearly. And we obviously restore vision to patients, right? Which is something which touches me the most in terms of a purpose in life. So these machines which are using and curing cataract, we can actually monitor them remotely. So we can say if Dr. X in Andheri, for example, is doing a surgery, I can exactly know when his machine will break down. Right? So remote monitoring can be easily done through AI. And that saves a lot of cost because every operation theater which the doctor misses, it's a lot of money missed. Right? So monitoring is the most important thing today for a surgeon, and he wants this entire operation theater setup to be working all the time. Radiology, I think this is something which all of you must have heard at many times. Today, AI is getting used in radiology, right? That you have a scan and you can train through AI, you exactly know where the issue is. So you're training, AI is largely Y equals to Fx, and I'll tell you later obviously there are various variables. You are training the machine again and again and again and again, right? So that's a big area. Cancer detection is again, oncology detection is a big area. There are various startups coming inside that area now. Third thing is robotics. Now, AI-powered robotics are actually taking over the operation theater. I can't tell you, somewhere or the other, I don't know whether in this audience or you must have heard, today robotics are doing live surgeries, right? Especially surgeries in gynecology. You must have heard about prostate cancer. Robotics are doing surgeries and they are AI-powered. Wearable devices. All of us are wearing wearable devices. Talking to one of the students sitting here in the lunchtime, that she said, I want a wearable we are planning to make a wearable for a neonate. And I said, that's great. That is where the future of AI is. That's where real-time data, right, is getting used in telling you what might a patient get in the near future, right? So wearable devices, again, a very important area in healthcare. Then let me come to the other side, which is pharmaceutical. So drug discovery, very basic drug discovery. AI is getting used into what molecule can be used for treatment. Clinical trials, optimization. So clinical trials, when the drug is discovered, you can optimize the trials in such a way that you can save cost. So to your question on, is it adding value? It's adding a lot of value today from a cost reduction in cost perspective. Because in healthcare, automation through AI can cut down a lot of cost. And that's where, the hospitals are looking at cutting costs by optimizing and automating their things which are very, very relevant, which are, basic stuff so that they can focus on the outcomes. Value in healthcare is all about outcomes. And that is where the focus of the surgeon is, that how can I create value through outcomes, right? So if AI can drive value from outcomes perspective and innovation perspective, that is where the future is. And in healthcare, obviously, if you see the gamut of activities happening today, generative AI, for example, a lot of use cases are there in healthcare today, right? So again, just to reinforce that AI is very relevant from a value creation in healthcare. Thank you.
Okay. So Rohit just mentioned about data and analytics, and my next question to Bhavisha was on that, at how analytics and data have influenced your business strategy, especially with respect to customer acquisition, retention, which was critical metric in a consulting business.
So just to add on, in the healthcare, we've just come up with a Gen AI healthcare sector report as a EY consulting business. And whatever he said, I think makes a lot of sense. In terms of analytics, I think why AI is working is a very basic concept where anything that is giving you cost efficiency, which is, and is helping you in a simple banya language, I would say, that as my father used to say in a store, is कि अगर खर्चा कम कर देंगे या फिर तुम प्रॉफिट शेयर बढ़ा सकते हो, मार्केट एक्सपैंड, दो ही तरीके से जो भी चीज चलती है यही दो तरीकों से चलती है. So in that manner, if that is giving me is what AI is. So in a B2B business like in consulting, we interact with our clients day to day and we know them. Most of them we know with each other. So we have a lot of information about the company. We have a lot of information about what they are into, their business models, and a lot of information. How do we leverage that and ensure we are not sharing with other companies, but making their processes better is where AI has helped us out. Other place where what you said in terms of more awareness building is where also AI is helping us is we run a lot of social media campaigns for EY page on our LinkedIn. A small example where, we actually did an activity. We were doing a launch of our AIDEA report, which is on AI. And while doing that, we wanted all our partners to post. We have around 700 partners. And to create so many posts for each one of them, to pick up relevant content for each sector, all of those were done by a small team of 3 of us. And we don't outsource every activity that we do. And all was done basis the ChatGPT, if you ask me. So lot of efficiency. If I had to run that kind of huge campaign to ensure that I was trending on a LinkedIn platform, I would have to spend a lot of money. So I think in both ways, it is helping out in any industry. And that's the reason I think everybody's adopting AI.
So it's basically helping you not just in your own business, but in your client business, and how you are probably proposing solutions for your clients. So any innovation which you can throw a little light on, whether it's with your within the organization or with your client.
So one innovative product that we actually work on is like our transaction business works a lot with clients who are looking for raising funds, right? With a private equity firms. Lot of time now, in last 2 years, we've come up and everybody comes and tells us, I'm using AI. So we have developed a product where we are saying that we'll do diligence on your AI. So as EY, we do a diligence basis that is what a person saying I'm using AI is actually an AI or not. So that is a way of innovation that we've come up with. Few more things that we'll keep adding, but that is something that is working with us, and private equity firms are liking it. That okay, we are the only ones as of now who are doing a diligence on AI. So
that's interesting. And you spoke about communication. And Rajat, that brings me to you. We just saw one of the award-winning ads which had made waves in the country, especially during the COVID time. FMCG typically has been a laggard sector, if I could say, with the adoption of AI and GPT, and there would be very few examples. Obviously, Mondelez has been one of them, wherein companies have adopted it wholeheartedly. Where do you see the future of AI and GPT in FMCG? What are the trends looking like? And besides the communication bit of it, do you think it's going to find its place in other processes, etc.?
So, am I audible? Right at the end. Thanks for the thumbs up. So, exciting times. And as you said, it's called fast-moving consumer goods, and it's actually quite slow. So that's maybe possibly one thing. But yes, AI is definitely maybe something that came to FMCG right at the end. But it's sort of making its mark. How is it making its mark? I'll put it into two places. One is your predictive AI. Now it's being used immensely in sales operations. Very simple use case is, if you are a shopkeeper and I am a salesman, and how it used to happen in old times, main dukaan pe ja raha hu, I am giving an order, sir, what do you want? I have these many SKUs. Now, you've realized you only have a limited amount of time. Now, where it's helping me, I have data for the last 20 years, what a shop orders. Now, the moment I open my handheld, my mobile, it can tell me what this shopkeeper has historically bought, what is the propensity to buy, which SKU will help him build. If the shop is near a hospital in its vicinity, let me put forward or recommend health beverages. And all that is happening at a very, very real pace. This helps us significantly when you're making inroads in rural. Now, we have no data on rural. We go to villages, and I was the ASM of North Bengal, so there are villages with 5,000 population, 3,000 population. How do you enter? How do you decide this village will even buy chocolates? And this is where it helps you. It takes into account macroeconomic variables. Bank hai, school hai, teachers are there, what profession you're employed in. And it gives you real-time recommendation. Okay, this guy is going to buy this one. So that's the first inroads it's doing in terms of predictive AI. Now comes the second part of generative AI, which to an FMCG company, it's helping in increasing reach. Again, we saw just a presentation of what we called is that tailoring needs to every individual. Now, currently, when you run a marketing campaign and you see ads on TV, you see generally one ad. We have many Indias within India. Will that ad have the same impact on everyone? The ad I'm running on TV, will a person in North have the same reactions as that in the South? Highly unlikely. Will a person sitting in a metro A have the same reaction as that in C? Absolutely not. And this is how you make hyper-local changes. Each ad will have a different copy. So for someone who's been shopping on Blinkit, you will see the ad with a copy, now get it in 10 minutes. While someone sitting somewhere in a rural, will get a very different messaging. Now it seems quite simple, but when you're making one shot or one static, how you're able to define different copies, send it to different people, that's the first thing. That's helping you increase reach. This is where AI is coming. It's taking signals basis, whatever you're doing. If you're a gamer on YouTube, or rather if you're searching for recipes on Google, it takes everything into account, and this is where the data part of it comes in, which is your third-party cookies and everything, and it tailors what ad you see on the internet. What I might see when I open a Blinkit might be very different to what you see. And that's generative AI. The second is, of course, is engagement. And this is where the ad of the Shah Rukh Khan sort of comes in. And that was, of course, a very good ad 2 years back. But those who search on YouTube, search for an ad 3 years back. Shah Rukh Khan was voice AI and generative AI. There was an ad that came in 2021 in Diwali, which just used pin code AI, which showed you that basis the pin codes where you're viewing the ad, which are the top 5 retailers around you. Of course, next year it sort of came into Shah Rukh Khan and voice AI. Again, another campaign that we did last year was the My Birthday song. A very simple funda with an insight that everyone has birthdays, but we just have this simple old song that we sing. Can you have tailor-made individual songs, basis the genre, basis the music, basis the preference, basis the name? And that's what enables consumer participation. That's what enables reach. And I think this is what FMCG has latched on to. right from Coke to Maggie to Nescafe, Nestle. I think this is where we're all experimenting. Absolutely, we do not say that we have perfected it. What it does help, yes, there's a lot of TNLs happening, lot of experimentation happening. But this is, of course, definitely something that FMCG has latched onto. And of course, this will just help us reach more consumers and build our brand in a much, much better way.
Thank you. And so I'll move to Ayushi. And Ayushi, with your, the business which is embedded in logistics, right? How is AI creating a more personalized customer journeys in a business like yours? And Ankit did speak about hyper personalization, and there are both merits of personalization and hyper personalization. So, what's your experience been, and how has it helped your business?
So I think one of the most interesting use cases that at Delhivery we're using with respect to AI is something called a return predictor. Can I just see a show of hands here for people who bought things online, Nykaa, Meesho, Amazon, Flipkart, Soul Store, right? Almost all of you are shopping online, right? Now, when you shop online, what inevitably happens is that sometimes you're in office, sometimes you're in home, sometimes, you missed out on putting the right PIN code and so on. Delhivery is India's largest integrated logistics company, which means that we have more data than everybody else. So what we've gone and done is we've taken our own proprietary data of 2 billion plus shipments and built a custom model for our businesses to check people's address as high risk, medium risk, or low risk before it's even dispatched. Because every time a business, right? So let's take the example of a t-shirt company like the Soul Store, which a lot of people in the audience would probably wear because they're the TG for it, right? So Soul Store actually first checks if the address entered by this person is a fraudulent address. So they will not pay delivery unnecessary shipment costs. So what we're doing is that by, building an in-house AI predictor model, we are saving our clients tremendous cost, right? So the cost that, an e-commerce business spends with delivery today to actually figure out if a shipment is real, if it's fraudulent, if we should not deliver it at a particular time because, we know this person is going to go to office from 10 to 6, right? And we know that it will come back and then Soul Store has to pay again for a delivery boy to reattempt or a delivery staff to reattempt that sort of shipment. All of that is cost saving. So I think what that has really done is enabled a lot of our businesses to benefit. And we've also taken these things up a notch. So Shopify is the most popular platform to build e-commerce websites in India. WordPress is the most popular platform to build websites, but Shopify is the market leader in building e-commerce websites. We've integrated our AI predictor return tool into Shopify. So if you're using Shopify, you don't need to come to Delhivery's platform to check it. You're sending a retention email, you're sending a marketing communication, you can just check it on the same interface. So that's one of the ways that logistics, right, even though it seems like a boring industry, enterprise heavy, right, is actually using data to personalize benefits that help businesses who are selling directly to consumers.
Okay, and how else, one is the predictive AI in checking their addresses, but how else it is getting embedded in your customer journey across?
So I think one of the most important ways that it's getting embedded is the fact that we recently had the Google team actually announce at a conference and we're tying up with Gemini to build a certain product which is around tracking efficiently. So we're I know all of us have used chatbots and most people find chatbots very frustrating. So we're now working with the Google Cloud team to actually use AI powered shipments. It's just recently been announced. So hopefully, it'll come out soon and then I'll be at liberty to talk a little bit more about it. But what we're realizing is that, there are repercussions of, I think, which he touched upon beautifully, right? That, as a company, we also don't want to infringe upon data That's not ours, right? So, you want to go with certain market leaders who spent a lot of time cleaning up their models. You don't want to run into certain kind of issues for predictive answering. So we're tying up with Gemini for that reason, and we launch something that impacts how customers track their shipments and solve their customer queries via us.
Okay, thank you. So Ankit, we heard from you and your belief in how AI and GPT is going to change. Let's talk about growth here. And most of my panelists spoke about that how AI is opening doors within the national boundaries and business in India. But what's your view on how AI is helping us leverage the local expertise but opening up more global opportunities for the businesses?
Thank you. So again, at Affle, beyond marketing, I also lead another function, sales. And if you've seen the last several years, we have a lot of software as a service companies which have sprung up, right? Many of them are now unicorns. Some of them are also listed. And in one of the roles where I play, we have a team whose job is sitting in India and reaching out to customers outside India. So we are in the business of selling software to marketers who use our platforms for marketing effectiveness and efficiency. So I'm selling to marketers and I'm sitting here in India and I have to reach out to them. And that's a very standard practice among SaaS companies and their roles like SDR, sales development representatives. So what used to happen is before, a lot of these young college grads, many of us like you, would spend a lot of time trying to understand what my product is, how do I tailor make it, how do I show up in the emails so that the potential customer responds. But not what we have done recently is that through one of the subdivision of Gen AI called RAG, R-A-G, retrieval, augmentation and generation, you can train your LLM to your particular domain, only to your particular context, right? Because some of the large LLMs which we use today, like a ChatGPT or Gemini, are very broad. They can write anything and everything, and there are problems around hallucinations and copyright. But what you want your LLM is to write copies which are very relevant to your particular domain. So what this RAG does is gets trained on your products, your company context, and then it is very easy for an SDR to say that, you know what, my ICP, ideal customer profile, is a marketer who has 8+ of experience. They have this app and we feel our services are relevant for them. You just put this as prompts and then you have a beautiful ad copy which comes as an email which you can send. Not just one copy, you can create multiple ad copies. You can define the tone that it has to be funny, it has to be professional, it has to be written in a local language because I'm writing to somebody in, say, Brazil, where Portuguese is the language. So a lot of these small hacks where previously a lot of sales marketers would struggle, these LLMs are really making it much easier to reach out to them through email marketing.
Thank you. And I'll go to Bhavisha at this time. So Bhavisha, you consult businesses from all the possible domains who represent here today. So I would love to know from you that how we are looking at AI and GPT and its use. Is it need to do or good to do?
I think it has become good to do. Sizada, it has become a part of our life. I think all of us sitting here has used it. Personally speaking, I was speaking to some of my friends yesterday also and asking them, have you stopped Googling? And please ask yourself, I think most of people sitting here have stopped Googling and they've started using GPT more. So it's
need to do now.
It's become part of life. And it will become, I think it has to stay. So
for businesses still, how are they looking at it? So when they are doing their resource allocation, are they looking at AI GPT still as enhancer or important variable into the process?
So we do a very brilliant survey of CEOs globally at EY, and if you the last survey results actually said that CEOs across globe want to put almost 40% of their marketing budgets and stuff across on AI or tech based products that they would want to get engaged in. So it is something that will have to be looked at, and in a way I would say roles of marketers has actually become more of like a customer engagement officer rather than thinking only of marketing. You have to start knowing how you will start engaging with customer more and more in a retail segment, and similarly with clients in B2B, where if you know how this will bring more your target segment, like a client closer, it will make more efficient, it'll make more enhanced.
What is the cost of doing this? And when I say cost, I don't mean to say just the monetary cost, but probably more focus on the non-monetary cost. So we did discuss about privacy, security issues, bias, misinformation. What is the real cost of doing all this, and how are businesses looking at that?
So at a smaller scale level, if you look, you will find efficiency. At a larger scale, when you start looking at, all of us know that the amount of, the CPU usages and stuff like that, the carbonization that it is creating is going to become larger. So I'm not a best speaker on that, but all of us have heard Sam Altman and everybody talking about it, that how much it is going to be there. But for a person like me, I feel a common girl will love it. So for us, it's bringing efficiency. For any organizations also, at a larger scale, when you're thinking if it is bringing efficiency to an organization, they will adopt. That's the reason people have started adopting it also. So saying any company will be looking to adopt AI, 100%. I don't think there will be any company will say that I don't want to get closer to AI. Saying that, is there a balance required? I say yes. Like anything in life, you need a balance in how much you use and abuse anything has to be there.
So Rohit, adding on, building from there, healthcare is a sensitive sector and a very, very critical sector. And I think anything which goes there needs to be ratified many, many times. Can we trust AI in the healthcare? What are the repercussions and the consequences you see there?
See, I'll start off with saying, J&J has its own chat GPT. And we are not allowed to go to any other GPT in the office. Yep. In the office. Why do we say that? Because there are a lot of regulations. See, our healthcare itself is highly regulated, right? Let me tell you a little background. See, pharma was regulated quite some time back by DPCO. The Medical Devices Act came in 2017. Now, if you see the regulations today, it's getting stronger and stricter. In COVID time, everybody has had that monitor, that oxygen monitor. Everybody has had that, right? You were monitoring your oxygen levels. If you compare one oximeter with the other oximeter, you will get different readings, correct? So now that regulation is coming, that whatever comes into the market has to be really the top-notch market quality in terms of devices. So that regulation in devices is now getting stringent and stringent. You cannot import a device without, for example, me saying that you are an importer for me or a distributor. So regulation is very, very critical today, right? As devices. And that's a data privacy. I think we did talk about data privacy. Data privacy from a patient perspective, right, is very, very important in healthcare. Extremely critical. We cannot be giving away data. And so what AI does is that obviously there is democratization at some levels, right? So that is where you need to draw a line. Where can you share? What can you share? And data privacy becomes very, very critical in healthcare. Biasness, I think somebody talked about biasness. Biasness is also getting inside in healthcare driven database. See, what happens is when a lot of automation is happening in healthcare through AI, what automation is also doing is you're automating a lot of processes, but you don't know whether it is automating it in the right way or the not, or the other way. So is it really thinking and automating? It's just automating. You're getting it? So automation needs to happen. That is correct through AI. But are you trying to automate the stuff in the right goals where AI needs to drive? Is something which healthcare has yet to figure out. Right? So we are still in the dilemma whether to adopt AI at scale or not. If you ask me, I think she said 40% of CEOs. I have my own this thing that today AI we are waiting and watching as a healthcare organization, the largest healthcare organization. We are still waiting. Obviously, we have teams which are working on Gen AI. We have teams, as I said, we have our own chat GPT which is very good enough. But we are still waiting and watching from a perspective of regulation and from a perspective of what we can do and what, because at the end of the day, we have to share a lot of stuff with a third party, right? So, and the layers are impermeable.
So on that, and one of the research which I was doing and we were speaking, you want to add on something?
Sorry, just I don't think it can be regulated now. As the box is open,
And
Box
this is
is
a
out, yeah.
it's a
point here that we
I
haven't.
don't think it is possible to regulate it anymore right now. It's not at all, because the way data is flooding around with everybody.
I totally
and
agree. So
everyone.
that is where the government of India, if you see, and it's a lot of talk in that where do we draw a line? So is it the government who has to make a law around AI? Is it the corporate? Is it the businesses? Is it society at large? I think that collaboration needs to come across. Today we don't have any strict. Everything is out. Deepfakes are already there. But my fundamental question is, when this is all out, your critical thinking, and I was talking to you, ma'am, if you remember, just some time back, your critical thinking will stop. So what is the difference between an intelligent guy and who's using an AI today and passing an exam today? You can have a chat GPT and pass a quiz, pass an exam. You are equally intelligent than the, sorry for letting the cat out, but you are equally intelligent than the guy who has, really mugged up in the night or studied in the night and appeared for an exam, right? So I think those laws need to come. It's out, I totally know. But the problem is that it's high time and we don't have an answer as of now.
Yeah, so
And it's scary, and it is scary if you ask me.
It is scary. And in fact, I'll come back to you with the question I had, because you spoke about how it's becoming a non-differentiator. And at this point, I'd like to ask Ayushi that, you spoke about predictive analytics and having right pin codes and, So tomorrow, if a competitor adopts the same strategy or a technology, how do you think, would you keep differentiating yourself? So AI is basically creating more parity points. And how do you keep up or bring on the more differentiating points for your business here? So probably for a short time it is, but is it sustainable? And what's your view on it?
So I think over a period of time, right, competitive differences sort of diminish anyway. So if it was not AI, something else, right? Suppose somebody has a large distributorship today, right, which is not a technology benefit. Tomorrow, if somebody matches up to that, that will also diminish. So I think in any business, whether it's a technological advantage, a non-technical advantage, if a competitor wants to assert that advantage with capital, with resources, with going after it, they will. And inevitably, that is why businesses innovate. So you compete, and when you find that you can no longer compete, you have to either innovate or die. Hence, I do not think it's a challenge per se. What is interesting to me personally, though, is that even if a competitor is using a technology, right, the way they use it and what they generate out of it may be very different from me. I'll give you an example, right? So when I generate content using Midjourney, or my team of designers do, I also know that all my competitors also generate content using AI. Right? But we are fundamentally saying different things because our value proposition is different, right? So even if the tools remain the same, right, it doesn't change the fact that the essence of the value proposition and the offering are not differentiated. So that still remains. On the whole, yes, like, there is nothing to say that tomorrow XYZ competitor will not build onto a similar thing. In fact, they'll build on it faster because someone's come and done the groundwork for them. But like any other, sort of advantage, you diminish and then you innovate, you compete, you die, and that's the cycle of business.
So you're
If
ready?
I can do a little bit of DCP, ma'am, here. So I think when we go and everybody is using these kinds of tools, then the point of differentiation is the humanness.
Yeah.
So imagine when the factory production started happening, right? And a lot of clothes started built. And today, when you have something made by human, like artisan products, they sell at a higher price than when it is made by, say, a factory. So the same thing may happen, for example, in the marketing domain, where it will say this copy is not written by an AI bot, but by a human. those human qualities, when you're able to demonstrate that, will become your differentiation.
Great answer. And so, Rajat, on that, when we're talking about communication and how specifically for your company, AI and GPT was used to engage customers, to enhance the reach, where do you see the future of FMCG? What would be your suggestion and the challenges specifically with respect to the human likeliness or anthropomorphism? Because AI is also being proven to say that after a certain point of time, people do not want the AI to have an equal relationship. To put it very crudely, it's a master servant relationship which people demand from the technology rather than an equal. And how do you think it is relevant for FMCG kind of a business?
I think FMCG, I think we've all been very cautiously wary of AI. I think that's the first thing you want to put out is at least I personally and Mondelez, we've always seen AI as something which multiplies hard work, doesn't replace hard work. It is something which always complements us. So there are two ways of looking at it, right? One is your day-to-day operational tasks in an FMCG, which are quite high. So things just, Ankit also mentioned, just changing copies or language transitions. Again, there are many Indias within Indias. You have 20 languages. Makes no sense to have different people who do it, and it takes about 7 days for you to get it out. I think these smaller operational day-to-day activities is where I think AI has just complemented us. It's helped us give us faster results. It helps us deliver things faster to the market. Another area where AI has sort of changed the landscape is product innovation and new product readiness. The entire timeline from procuring raw material to making to launching in a market for any FMCG, for a packaged consumer goods, is anywhere minimum a year. For bigger companies, it's much more than. What it helps you, AI, is helps you in selection of these things. For example, now if I have, and this is something we've been doing, I know the taste preferences of over 65 lakh million people in India. I know they like their chocolate. Do they like a crunchy taste? Do they like a chewy taste? What kind of flavor profiles do they like? Do they like the desi? Do they like something with crunch? Do they like liquid? Do they like golgappe? And there's various things. And as a brand manager and an innovation manager, one of the things you're always tasked with, what do I launch? I can do all the research. I can ask all the consumers. I can validate. But when it comes to putting 5 crores, 10 crores of money, that okay, launch it. How do you help? And this is where AI helps us. It gives us, and you've seen recent examples in the market. Has anyone tried the Korean noodles? Those have come out of AI. That's something Maggie has launched after their entire flavor profiling. KitKat, if you go to the market, has been launching something called a cookie flavors. So these are all taste profiles as a result of AI work that's come. Where we do draw the line is, while AI can help you with it, when it comes to any high stake decision, that's something we feel AI is not grounded in when it comes to verifiable facts, biases, regulations, as it mentioned. So when you are making a communication plan, there are extremely hard laws against it. When you go to any of these AI generators, you'll realize half of the keywords don't work because the laws regarding what it can punch out are very strict. Copyright infringement, again, it's very easy for me to go on a mid journey, write the prompt, take out a creative. There are no infringement laws. We don't know, and no FMCG in this kind of a cancel culture wants to get caught in it. Imagine if Tanishq were to bring out an ad using, it might just get caught because AI, while it'll give you very strong creatives, the quality will be very good. Will it be able to take into account the biases, the communication? Who do you show? What color do you show? What kind of profile do you show? So those are things where I think FMCG and us, we've sort of drawn a hard line that this is where the role of AI ends as of right now. It helps us in complementing stuff, but yes, the humanness, the inciting part, that stays true to us, to people who are doing it.
So Ankit, because you started about the human likeliness, and I'll take this question here. So do you think there's a way out for there? And do you think that ever AI would be able to achieve that kind of an intelligence when it can, Rajat can say, okay, I'm talking about Chennai in India, and therefore give me an ad which takes care of all the cultural beliefs, etc., and give a copy like that. So how far do you think we are from having an AI which is so intelligent that it understands what, as of now, humans intuitively know?
I hope we are very far off. I think we are not still there because, as I was saying, right, like humanness is something which has evolved over centuries and centuries, millennials, which today these chatbots, these AI systems are trying to emulate, but we are still far off, right? Things like empathy, things like compassion. Because you have to understand, right? These Gen AI doesn't understand humanness the way you and I do. They are just a statistical model which is trying to look in the past data and predict patterns from them. So I think we are very far, but people who are using these AIs will definitely outsmart people who are not using it, right? So for example, if I am a marketer and I'm using some of these Gen AI tools, I can have multiple variations of my ad copies. I can test them and see what are working, what are not working. I will any day outsmart a marketer who's not using some of these platforms.
So our jobs are secure, you mean to say?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'll just add to and give you a healthcare example. I'm talking about a real person, a real surgeon, and he's in Max Saket in Delhi, right? Dr. Chaube, if you look him up, Dr. Pradeep Chaube, he's the head of Max Group of Hospitals, bariatric surgery, head of surgery, and he is the official surgeon for the Dalai Lama. Okay. He has been nominated as, so Dalai Lama is in closely touch with him. And Dalai Lama has said, if anybody has to touch my body in terms of surgery, it is Dr. Pradeep Chaube. Now my question is, I talked about robotic surgery, right? Dr. Chaube has all the robotic surgeries, right? Now the question is, today robotic surgery does really well surgery, the blood loss is really less. Every time the outcomes are going to be the same because the human touch is not there, right? When he is on that, suppose Dalai Lama is on the table, would Dalai Lama say, I want to get operated by robotic surgery, AI driven robotic surgery, or I want the human touch of Dr. Chaube? So what we are discussing here in the forum is, it's going to augment, AI is just going to augment, the human touch is not going to go away. The critical thinking of mankind is not going to go away. Please, and I think Ankit showed evolution. And my basic problem with evolution is that when you are doing evolution, please don't forget, in the evolution, what started, as Professor Ambi is here, he started the revolution of advertising. It will still be there. Yes, AI has come in, but the ratio will change. Maybe the AI was not there at his time, used at that time. The ratio is going to change, but it's still going to be there and as much relevant because the critical thinking of human, you cannot replace by an AI.
Absolutely, and that's where I bring back my question. So one of the research we were doing, it's not just about the customers, whether I would like to be operated by an AI or a doctor, but it's also about whether the consumers of AI, which is the people who are using AI, how comfortable are they? And the research I was doing in healthcare showed that the doctors themselves are very reluctant to use AI because they feel that now AI is able to probably make a better diagnosis based on the patient's history than I can. And so their willingness to adopt to it is also a question mark. So we're talking about people who are affected, whether they are comfortable and the human likeliness, but it's about the users who probably can augment their skills or efficiency. How open are they? Do they see it as a challenge? Are they fearful of it?
The normal person today?
The doctor.
The doctor?
Yes.
As a challenge posed by the AI.
AI. So, probably they feel that, it's going to replace me or it's going to become more powerful than I am today.
Yeah. So there are some smart surgeons in India who are like top of their game, right? They would say AI or robotic surgery needs to augment my surgery because what happens is when you lay the patient on the table and you open the patient. So your anatomy, my anatomy might be very different. The way your veins are going inside your body and the way my veins are going inside my body will be very different. Only when you open the body, you realize that. That is where the human factor comes in. Right? So surgeons say, it's a difficult case. I'm the best surgeon in India. I will utilize robotics to augment it, but I will not leave everything to robotics because it's a difficult case. And you only realize when you open up the patient. Large amount of time. You are generally not aware before.
As a follow-up, man, refer to doctors, and of course I understand, agree completely what you're saying, but surgeons. As a person, let's say, who's been going to a family doctor for 15 years, And I know, of course, he has a detailed patient history.
Yeah.
Won't AI be helpful? For example, if he had a complete history, he'll be able to tell me that, what's the likelihood of me, let's say, contracting a chronic disease 5 years into the future. I think that is something which I think any doctor would sort of embrace, because as long as it helps
so that's
you-
happening. Yeah, we are giving these devices certain, for example, radiology I mentioned, right? It's already started to happen. That we are able to predict what is going to happen. But it's diagnosis. Please remember, it's not treatment. In healthcare, it's all about, can we diagnose the disease faster? What I'm going to happen what's going to happen to me 5 years hence, if that can be told to me today, I can at least work towards it, right? But treatment is something which is not AI driven. So AI is helping in diagnosis first.
So the last question, which I probably want to pose to the panel, is that businesses are also talking about the monetization of AI. Good to have. Has probably proved its efficiency in the cost reduction for businesses, whether we talk about the automated AI in the form of chatbots, or whether we talk about product innovations and a much higher value, higher risk AI operations. However, monetization still remains a challenge for businesses. And so, what is your view on it? And as decision makers, wherein you probably would be also allocating resources and looking at the future of the business growth, how do you think businesses can really monetize AI? And I'm coming from the fact that a lot of AI tools, if you look at whether it was Bard, whether it was Amazon thinking of coming down heavily on Alexa, different kinds of tools, businesses are getting hurt and they are not making money. So where do you see this opportunity coming from, and what's your recommendation on how businesses can really monetize it? So anybody can start here. Whoever. Yeah.
So, in a way, it is like you're trying to ask is that, a marketer's job remains, not remains. What do a marketer do now further? Maybe.
Yeah, how do you use it to make money?
In a way, how do you, continue to ensure relevant kind of thing?
Absolutely. And also, if we've spoken about the cost, but is there a way to increase your top lines or bottom lines as well? Can AI help you do that? And in what way?
It is doing, and that's the reason it has been used. But in a way, again, the tools that have been used are getting enhanced every day. And AI above a layer of generative AI, which is more predictable, like we were discussing right now. It is giving us predictive analysis. Basis that, we know that, okay, basis these are the kind of communication which are going to work to this set of customers, and how I meet them, how I interact with them. This is how I will draft for example, if I want a email that is to be opened by a set of CEOs, I will write, in my subject line, if I write a CEO, the chances of email opening is higher. That is a very, very, very simple thing. Higher for not only CEO, but also others. The other guys also want to know, because I have written this is for CEO. So when an email comes to you, those are the ways in which people want to know, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is going to happen. It has to be relevant. There is no way in which we can say AI will not be used further.
So Ankit, what's your view? How do you think businesses can appropriate value through AI?
I think we are still very early in this long arc of how AI is going to impact human history. But I think what is very clear is, as we've seen across domains, efficiency and effectiveness is getting adopted, right? Whether it was marketing campaigns, whether it is in healthcare, whether it is in delivery. But I agree. I think as we go back in time, right, and I'm a student of world history, every time a new such technology come, right, whether it was the cars example or internet, it does not eliminate jobs, it displaces and replaces them. So I'll give you another example from world history. So you'll be surprised that back in 1920s and 30s, the most coveted profession was of a telephone operator. That was a time when a lot of analog telephones were there, and a lot of women in America had the aspiration to become a telephone operator. And now we know that, right, those jobs don't exist. But what people did, they started building something else and started doing something else. Like, for example, again, the horse example, right? So when horses were way which people used to traverse, the people who were making the carriage, the people who were making the leather cushions on those carriages were important. But when the cars came in, some of the guys said, oh, we can't do anything. Some of the guys say that, you know what, cars also need seats. Let me transition from leather seats on horses, carriages to cars. So I think the key here is that for all of us, whether we are a marketer, individual, businesses, have to understand that the genie is out of the bottle. How can we leverage it in my own workflows? How can I adopt it? Not everything will work. It's an experimentation, A/B testing, and hopefully we'll figure out the right revenue model and the monetization.
Rajat, you have something to say.
So I think on the topic of monetization, it's actually quite a tricky one. And I'll maybe cite my examples that I had. In terms of return, so let's say, is AI or adoption of AI giving me better efficiency? Yes. On e-commerce, is it giving me better ROAS? Yes. But are the costs increasing? Yes, because it's early days. What's happening is, at least from a supplier side, each company is buying their own tailor-made AI platforms. So there's not one single platform that's giving outputs to every company. That's how they're at least selling it, that, you know, we'll give this platform to you customized basis your own data. So that's really where the cost goes up. Very similar example. And one thing that often gets missed in AI is you need to invest in the talent to train it. Now, if anyone were to open Mid-Journey and write a prompt that give me an image of a keynote speaker speaking, every person will do it very differently. And so the output will vary differently. And where we are currently spending a lot of money is hiring people or training people who can give you such prompts. And believe me, we thought it's going to be very easy exercise, but that's really costing a lot. Where does this factor come in? Of course, when you're deciding to do any shoot, one of the basic ideas is, do I do an actual shoot? If I want to show a photo or a static of a cookie flying and chocolate hitting it, can I do it via an actual shoot? Yes, I can. Can I also do it digitally? Yes, I can. But the cost of actually doing it digitally, training a person, is equally high. So of course, it's giving us better efficiency metrics, better ROAS, but the amount and time and the cost it's taking in to train the resources currently, it's also very high. Possibly another 10, 15, 20 years, that thing starts getting standardized. And so you do end up getting higher returns. That's a very good economics lesson. I wish Tulsi ma'am were here to see me using economic principles.
Just to add here, at the end of the day, when you have to see in an organization what has AI done, I think there are only few things that you have to look at, which is, okay, do I have a metrics to measure AI? Do I have a clear metrics today? I don't think so. Any organization today, we are in a hype of AI today. So have you really looked at what metrics, as I think you also mentioned, we are seeing efficiencies, we are seeing errors, but what are the metrics? Do we have a clear parameter that, okay, I used X amount of money in this campaign of AI, what did I get at the end? Or AI-powered supply chains. We didn't talk about supply chains. Yes. Today, supply chain, which was disrupted during COVID times, and today a lot of organizations are using AI-driven supply chains. Now, are you measuring at the end of the day, what has AI-driven supply chains helped me from a return perspective? Lead times have become lesser, right? Your inventory cost is going down, right? So I think that overall perspective of metrics, if we put it down as a marketeer, then you can see how can I monetize this entire stuff.
So I think we have to first do that metric structure to be able to monetize. Ayushi, you would like to give last words on this?
So I think we are already monetizing AI and our clients are paying for it and we're cross-selling it. So I think for me and my organization, at least, I can say that yes, we're able to monetize it, and it just comes down to the quality of the value you're offering, like Bhavisha said about doing due diligence on AI. Now, if somebody's going to invest 100 crores, they do not mind shelling out a couple of extra crores to do the due diligence. So in terms of monetization, I think that's one piece. The other thing, ma'am, that you asked, right, which is about what is the cost of really this, is something that I think I'd like to come back to, right? So logistics as an industry is an industry which has a lot of gig workers and a few people at the top, right? And I think that's what AI is doing to our economic structure, because when I use Mid-Journey, right, I only need one designer to prompt. I don't need 6 people anymore. when he makes pan-India campaigns for Cadbury, he does not need 20 language translators anymore. It's eating up jobs like anything. Now, in the short run, it doesn't look like it. But I think over a long period of time, it's very obvious that there is going to be this very clear polarization of jobs. That, hey, you either become a decision maker to use AI in your organization, B, you become somebody who develops AI or AI-led products, or C, you do something that involves no technology, you know, like delivering a parcel or something like that, right? Which has to be physical. Now that's going to change our economic structure over a period of time, much like the Industrial Revolution changed the structure of people moving from farms to factories. And to me, that's the cost of AI.
Thank you. So in the interest of time, before I summarize, I want to open the forum to the audience and questions from the audience for the panelists. Can somebody help us with the mic so that they can be audible? Yes, we may just start speaking, Baby Bill.
Sir, my question is to Rohit sir. Rohit sir, whenever I worked in medical devices field for almost 4.5 years for Conclave and CR. So my question is, whenever we talk about healthcare, or in surgery, we totally focused in zero margin error. Now in radiology, we are focusing on the time-consuming parameter. But talking about the robotic arms, like what Merrill provides, robotic arms are very time-consuming and they are very high in cost. So high in cost is not beneficial for the patient, and the time consuming is not beneficial for surgeon. So how we are ensuring this AI driven robotic arms will be a future?
That's a great question. See, robotic arms are costly, right? That's what you asked. Today, the patient is ready to pay extra cost for his safety. The problem is surgeon's pitch. Surgeon's pitch is like this. आपका ऑपरेशन और रोबोटिक से होगा, ये बिल्कुल सेफ है, मैंने स्विट्जरलैंड में जाके इसकी ट्रेनिंग की है, it is costing more, but the bleeding time will be less, your recovery will be faster, and it is very intuitive, right? So that's the pitch which the surgeon is giving the patient, and patient, believe me, is ready to pay for the robotic. And there is good amount of robotic surgeries today happening, especially in cases which are difficult surgeries.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right. So, Ankit said that the genie is out of the bottle in regards to AI, and it's best to join the wagon. Additionally, even Bhavisha told us about the diligence happening towards AI-based solutions and how it has become a good-to-use tool. Some people might be apprehensive about over-reliance on GPT or the authenticity of at least relatively primitive technology that we are embracing right now. And also we have had multiple hostile debates about the same. So my question is that should this be considered as an issue? Should we be mindful about it?
Anybody can, yeah, Bhavisha.
You should be mindful about it. That is like no way of question. You cannot be mindful. But if you ask me today, like all of us are using phone, our phones are listening to us. All of us have experienced the day you talk about to your friend ki acha aaj kya khana hai, you start seeing the ads of food. The day you talk about something, so that is, phones are listening, everything is listening. So there is a era where you can't be sure, so you will have to be mindful. You will have to start thinking and putting and like a human angle to it. What is efficient? How are we going to benefit? Is it something that will bring value to me? And that's how it should be taken.
You know, I think there should be some guardrails. Like one of the things I mentioned about something called deep fakes, and I'm sure all of you have heard a lot of stories around, say, early this year when there was a video of, say, Sachin Tendulkar endorsing a particular brand which he never did. Or there was an interesting story where one of the largest marketing firms CEO almost got duped because of these kind of deep fakes. And some of these technologies, right, can be very, very destructive, especially when their tempers are high. So there are certain aspects of this technology which really needs to be regulated. Like, for example, the autonomous drones. And today, a lot of war which is happening will all be not driven by humans, but by these kinds of drones, which could be very, very destructive. So there are certain guardrails we really need to have in some of these technologies. And government should really put a very strong hand on some of those things. Versus some of those are there which you really can't have a view, and one needs to be conscious and discuss on these moral compasses.
Thank you. Any other? Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Thank you, everyone. It was
I-
indeed a very insightful session. So my question is, we have talked about how AI and GPT has been leveraged to take insights on the end customers. But is there anything that organizations are doing to have a seamless integration onto the omni-channel setups where we are leveraging AI and GPT for multiple touch points, maybe like retailers and distributors?
Yeah, I think Rajat did address that, and maybe he'll very
So,
quickly be.
If I just understand how are we using GPT to sort of ensure there's efficiency across omni-channel, right? So again, different, and we are a bit short on time, so I'll answer it slightly quickly. So again, let's go through the entire journey, right? Right from the awareness. I told you there are different ways of getting aware of it. You might be seeing a copy. If you're going, maybe let's say an ad, you're seeing a different ad in the morning, you may be seeing a different version of the same ad in the evening. So that's on the awareness stage, where this contextual advertising is going to get to you. So that's AI driven. If you're maybe buying a toothpaste, right, in the morning, you're getting an ad, buy 2 toothpaste, get 1 free. In the late night, you're getting the same ad, oh, you had meetha, you want to brush your teeth, go back. So that's the awareness stage. Now, right from the order taking stage, right, there are different efficiencies. Basis each macro environment or GDP issues or any detail, it helps you take an order. Okay, should I sell this? Is there a likelihood to cross sell? Is there a likelihood to upsell? All of those things. Even image AI, for example, how things are placed in the shop. Currently, there's one person who goes, puts everything in order, and you see entire category shelf, right? You click a photo of it. Companies are in fact using it to see which item sells more. That's the best way to do. You take a big picture of the category, AI tells you, see, the placement of this is this. So these are different ways where AI is gradually sort of getting to be a part of, which I personally feel is very helpful, because the people who are doing all these sales understand that those people are not at the same level of education. While of course we would, as an ASM, when I was there, I wished all of my salesmen were MBA pass outs. Why aren't you not doing this? Why can't you see this? But this is where AI is helping them. You, of course, at the end of the day, yes, it's a human selling, but he needs all the help he can get. In the case of our salesmen, people who work in the omni-channel, this is where AI is helping them across touch points, from order taking to delivery to planogramming. So that's a very good use case already in practice.
Maybe we'll take one last question, Vasu, in the interest of time. Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I actually had 2 questions. The first one was mostly to people who are working with advertisers. But have you just generally seen that with reliance on AI, has there been diminishing insights that you have maybe noticed these days? That's one. And the second one was just generally open to all about your personal opinion. But do you think that with the constant reliance on AI, will there be a time personally and just generally for you when AI generated recommendations could eventually override your personal judgments?
I think I'll take this. So insights have nothing to do with AI. Insights have to do with culture and society, and they exist. And today's AI's ability to pull out insights, right, is fairly nascent and will take time, right? So you cannot expect AI to find out one consumer insight that Cadbury wants to go after small sellers, Shah Rukh Khan is this, and tie it together. Conceptually, yes, but it's very nascent. So that ties back to the second question you asked. Judgment is a very, very strong asset that today brand managers and marketeers have. I pretty much edit everything that has ever come to me from an AI perspective. Because even if you do very advanced prompt engineering from tonality, positioning perspective, and we use like the paid version of all of these softwares, we're not using like free chat GPT or the bare minimum DALI or whatever it is, it still requires immense amount of editing. What it does help with is that it does the first draft, right? So you know, hey, this is a direction I like, this is a direction I don't like. But beyond that, it genuinely does nothing on creativity, frankly. I think if you're creative, and if you have creative and decision making, right, those two things somewhere in your profile or in your professional journey, then you're safe from what AI can do. What it's totally replaced is grunt work, right? So anything that's grunt work will definitely get replaced. But if you're taking a call, right, so if you're someone who's just saying, hey, this line is better than that line, then you're going to stay. But if you're generating that line, then there is a problem.
Thank you so much. And, so we'll close in the interest of time. But, generally when the five marketers are sitting on the same table, it's very difficult to achieve a consensus. But at least there's a consensus on two things, that definitely AI and GPT are creating value in the marketing decision making. And secondly, this monster, or a good monster probably, does require a guardrail or a sandbox condition. It cannot be leased out in all its form. Finally, I would just like to kind of summarize what we discussed. And as an academician, we have this habit of putting everything into a structure or a process. So I very quickly kind of noted that down as our panelists were telling us. So AI and GPT is definitely creating value for multiple players in the ecosystem, and it's not just the customers, because integration of marketplace is what it has achieved. It's creating value by enhancing personalization and hence better customer experience, predictive prescriptive analysis for optimal resource allocation across various processes, enhancing creativity and ability to generate content, which is more personalized, which is more engaging, and optimizing the multiple functions, whether it's sales or supply chain or delivery, etc., and integrate with various businesses. So it's not just about marketing, it's about the entire business per se. And as an outcome, what it has done, one is definitely the cost saving, and the second is improved efficiency, probably in the form of more customer acquisition, as we spoke about, enhancing funnels or broader funnels, and customer retention, which is closing down the funnel from the bottom. And these have been the two outcomes which has been seen. Now, the factors which moderate these are two. One, what is the kind of the use? Whether it's automated, low value, low risk use, or whether it's innovative, integrated, high value, high risk use. And the second is the level of personalization or anthropomorphism, which AI brings in, because it should not intimidate, but support the user and the beneficiary. And I think that's what probably the discussion today has concluded and charted as a future of how this technology can affect the marketing landscape. Thank you so much, panelists. It was a great 1 hour I spent and I learned. Some of them are my students here, and it's extremely proud moment when you see your students coming on the stage and being more confident than probably you are at this moment. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. There's one slide. If I brought one slide for the end of the session. Is it possible to put that? So if you ask Chat GPT to cover me, this is what you might get. So as I said, critical thinking remains.
As we conclude the marketing conclave, I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our incredible panelists. Your valuable insights, experiences, and thought-provoking discussions have truly enriched our understanding on how AI and GPT are in fact reshaping the marketing landscape. A special thank you to Dr. Aggarwal for skillfully moderating the session. I'd now like to invite my peers Vasu, Mittal, and Nikita to please present a small token of appreciation. I'd now like to request you all to please gather around for a group photograph.